I'm just going to click through once and we'll be ready to go in 15 seconds. Ready? There's Michael. There's both of us. Start there, go just to Michael. Michael, is that your screen as well? That's Michael. Okay, I'm ready. Hi, welcome to the Google News Initiative training on verification tools for journalists. I'm Maggie Farley, and I will be here with my colleague, Michael Grant, and we are going to be giving you an introduction today for verification tools you can use to check out misinformation and disinformation, which is so important right now. We're in campaign season, we're dealing with coronavirus, and rumors about protests and all sorts of things that we need to check out. So today, Michael and I are going to give you an introduction to all sorts of tools that you can use right away to play with. So we're part of the Google News Initiative, which is the umbrella group for several parts. We are the journalists who work with other journalists in newsrooms all around the country. And we have teams all around the world working with journalists. You can see our trainings that we've recorded in 10 different languages. And I will show you that website in a minute. I also wanted to tell you that we have a business team that works with publishers to help drive subscriptions and explore different revenue models. There's also a team that works to create new tools for journalists, which we will show you in this series or have shown you. And so we're so glad that you're here. We also have a Google Innovation Challenge that just opened, and it provides all sorts of funding for people with great ideas to help the journalism landscape. So we'll be doing this every day. Maybe you were with us yesterday, and today we're doing verification, tomorrow data journalism. On Thursday, it's environmental journalism, and on Friday, we will be rounding out our week. We call it summer camp. You can see the links to all of these trainings and to many other trainings on our g.co/news training website. It's got all sorts of tools that you can play with. You can see everything we talk about here today, and you can go back and go at your own pace. So with that, I am going to hand it over to Michael, who's going to take you through all sorts of wonderful tools for verification of misinformation and disinformation.
Hi, thank you, Maggie. And hello, everyone. Welcome again. My name is Michael Grant, teaching fellow here at the Google News Lab. And again, today we're going to go over verification, starting with fact check tools. And I just want to say that you can follow along as best you can. If you don't catch everything in the presentation, you can always check out the links that we'll be sharing along the way in the chat. So I think Maggie's going to be dropping some links there as I go. And then you can always feel free to reach out to us with questions, and I'll leave you a slide at the end of this presentation that'll have ways to get in touch with us for more questions. All right, so let's get started. So if you go and check out g.co/fact-check-tools, you can end up on the Fact Check Explorer. And this is a really nifty tool. I encourage its use, particularly in those situations where maybe in your newsroom and you guys hear of claims or unverified reports or questionable material. And if you guys kind of start to say, like, is that true? This might be a great place for you to turn to. It allows for users to search and index of fact checks from reputable sources. And so I think news organizations can be looking at this tool a number of different ways. If the claim is a little dated or maybe old or something's beginning to resurface, then you might go here to search for what has been verified about a particular topic or claim. And if you're a news organization that wants to get in front of reporting about misinformation that might be floating around on, say, Twitter or Facebook, or from a website in particular, then you can come here as a news organization and post what your reporting is and allow that to be elevated in this fact check tool. So if you want to get in front of verifying information, then there's 3 simple steps here. You're just going to ask your webmaster to link to your Google account to the fact check markup tool. And they can visit g.co/fact check tools. There's an area off to the left-hand side where they can start the process of verifying you with the news organization. And then once you're verified there, you can then contribute to the fact check markup tool by pasting your fact check articles and adding a few tags to make it searchable. And that way your fact checks will surface inside of the tool. All right. One other really cool place that I think you can go to understand a little bit more about what good fact checking looks like is the News Literacy Project. What's cool about this is that they have a newsletter where they break down viral rumors. And one thing to note when you're verifying fact checks is not to recirculate some of the misleading information or images. So you want to very clearly mark what is false. And so you noticed in the previous slide that when I try to click and drag that image, it's very clearly marked that certain parts of this information, is misleading. So in this example, it's talking about the wildfires in Sydney, but it's showing lots of different fires from all over the world, in Indonesia and 2 in California here. So, none of those California fires have anything to do with the, Sydney Australian fires. So you want to be very clear in how you're breaking down your fact checks. But I think the News Literacy Project is doing a great job of showing us, what's good practice, and you can introduce these practices into the way that you debunk or verify false information on the internet. And here's just another quick example. I mean, I've seen the 2 images with people in masks. Those are stock footage, which, sometimes journalists can use stock footage to sort of illustrate concepts. But we can also see where stock footage can be used in misleading ways or to perpetuate misleading information. So again, very clear indicators of what we're marking as false. All right, let's talk about verification tools and services, and this is going to focus on imagery. So InVid Project is a really wonderful tool that you can use to verify things, including images and video. And the way it works is that what you're going to do is grab a link of a video, let's say on YouTube, and you'll bring it into the service, and you can run an analysis on it. And what it's going to do is it'll break your images into keyframes, and that way, and then it'll reverse image search each one of those keyframes really quickly. It'll pop open a number of tabs with all the individual keyframes, and then in those tabs of the keyframes, they're just reverse image searches on Google. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. I also want to let you know that they do have a browser plugin or a browser extension for Chrome. So if you head over to the Chrome store and search for NVID, you can add this to your browser, and so you'll get in your browser in the extensions side of your browser a nice little button here where you can get direct access to NVID. Sometimes you might forget what was that service that I could use to debunk. You can get like a nice little resource here, or you can, in some cases, it'll be able to read the web page and search the video or add the video to its service for you to then run analysis on it, or it'll take the image out of the page and do the same thing. So worth checking out. So I'd love to kind of share an example of the power of reverse image search. And I can start by mapping out a scenario here. And so in this scenario, here's a tweet, and it says, you know, Sandra the orangutan started washing her hands because she saw all the zookeepers doing it repeatedly during the COVID-19 crisis. And so while that's a cute and really awesome thing, if the orangutan knew about the pandemic, it seems questionable. And so one thing that you can do is, let's say if you were on Facebook and you saw the post, you can totally just like right click to search for the image. You can see it right there. Once you get to an image, you can right click it. And you can see that you'll have an option to search Google for this image. And now we can see some of the similar images that surface around this photo. And it also then gives us a place where we can see context around a photo that Google recognizes in the search. And so one of the first things that we see is a viral video of an orangutan washing hands didn't originate from ... right? So I can already see that there's been reporting on, you know, this being a misleading tweet, for instance, right? And so this news organization, Fox 4 KC, Kansas City, had already done some report about it. So this is really cool when you can say, hey, I found questionable material. What happens if I do a reverse image search? So you can kind of see if there's information that's already circulating about debunking that report, or we can see if there's an original source for that video and what the video says and what the video content is from the original source. All right, let's move on to image manipulation. So you can see in this example, although subtle, the background or the image in that frame is totally changed. Or in this case, the Canadian Green Party admitted to photoshopping or altering this image, showing the party leader with a reusable cup as opposed to a paper cup. So we know that you know, photoshopping images or changing parts of an image can change its meaning. And, you know, we definitely as journalists want to focus on accuracy and let people know when something is in fact inaccurate. And so we can verify these kinds of things. Or this came to the attention of the GQ editorial team. So they did a report about, you know, a tech conference or a tech visit, and they were provided a photo that had women photoshopped into it. And so the original photo they found was a scene of all men, and you can see that the one that they were given is a photo with women photoshopped into it. And so this photo didn't meet their editorial guidelines because of that, and it was since removed from their website. So when it's time for you to figure out how you would like to verify images that you're coming in contact with, one great tool that you can turn to is images.google.com. So Google Images allows you to reverse image search, and you can do it one of two ways. You can use the search bar, and when you click the search bar, you can paste an image URL to the photo that you found on the internet, or you can upload an image, and that can be something that you've saved to your desktop, or it can be a screenshot or a picture of a picture. Whatever way that you have that image in, you can simply upload it to the service here, and then we will perform a reverse image search. All right, so here's one of the ways that contextually this may be a great way to use it. Here's a tweet that we see, and it's citing the Amazon rainforest burning. And we know that, you know, right in the maybe tail end, like the last quarter of last year, this was a really big news story. And so this is one of the images that surfaced in the public conversation about the rainforest burning. And it, you know, it says pray for Amazonia. So we're all on board with that. However, the reverse image search shows that this photo is in fact from 2013. So it's a mismatch of context here. If we want to know, or if we're surfacing images to the public about today's Amazon rainforest burning, it's super important for us to make sure that we're sharing these images in context with the actual today's event, and not misleading people with the size or the scale or location or whatever it is from a previous year, unless of course that was the point of your reporting. So this is one way we could use a reverse image search. I'm just going to show you a kind of a offhanded way that I've used it. So last year I did a training in Detroit, and I drove over this bridge. Now I didn't have a picture of the bridge, but I found something that looked like the bridge, and I took a screenshot of it. And so I came to our images.google.com, and instead of pasting an image from a URL, I upload an image. And so this is me just kind of going to my desktop and saying, yep, that's my screenshot. Okay, so when I reverse image search this screenshot, now I can get context of what the name of that bridge was. So it's really great at figuring out locations or other you know, interesting things about a particular place, right? And so so that's one way that you could be using it sort of forensically, is saying, hey, I don't know where this place is. Is there enough information in the photo that might reveal more about this place that I don't know about? And so that's really great for reporters. You know, there's a lot of information coming at us. We don't know everything, but the idea is to verify, or to even get hints at what's the context of this photo. And so I figured out that, you know, this bridge that I didn't know the name of, and I didn't see it clearly marked on the highway, is the Gateway Arch Bridge. So one really nifty project that that we're working on at Google is Project Assembler, and this comes to us from the Jigsaw team. And what it does is it works hard to use new technology like artificial intelligence to understand how, like, where in an image has been manipulated. So that's really tough to do, or to, you know, to do without technology. But we're leveraging the power of technology to understand, you know, or to recognize when an image has been altered. So I can see that being a really powerful tool for newsrooms in the future, of being able to kind of run photos that might be sourced from outside of the organization, in order to verify them to make sure they haven't been altered. You can read more about Project Assembler by going to projectassembler.org. And so there's really great information about the project, the approach, some of the learnings that they've done, as well as collaborations with real newsrooms, so that you can kind of get an understanding of more of how we might be using this in future situations. So let's talk more about verification tools in video. Here's a YouTube clip. I'm going to play it for you. I want you to watch closely. In the top right corner, we see this alligator just kind of like running over to the gentleman here. So let's just see that one more time. There you go. It happens really quickly, but oftentimes that's kind of the strategy with pulling a fast one on folks. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to figure out if this has been altered, and I'm going to show you InVid doing its work on videos. All right. So let me just hop out of presentation mode here. And here's the video on YouTube. I'm going to just copy that out. And I'll head over to InVid. There we go. Okay, so now I'm in InVid. What I want to do is run an analysis on this video. So I'm just going to paste the YouTube link here and hit submit. All right, great. Okay, and so let's go ahead and read what it has for us. So I can see information about the video, title, description, view count, like count, dislikes, so on. But it looks like okay, so I can see a channel that it came from, but here I can see comments here, and it says video comment count is 28, but number verification comments are 1. So I'm going to click this verification comments, and this comes from Luke Gaming, and it says it's fake. Look at the mama crocodile shadow and replay it over and over, and you will see it's fake. Okay, so I could totally, maybe Maggie might go ahead and copy and paste that YouTube link for you to go ahead and take a look at it. But what's really cool too is that it breaks the video into frames for us. And on this one, unfortunately, some of them are a little smaller than others, but you can see the frame when the alligator comes in at the top left-hand corner. And so that is what's being scrutinized here. And apparently there might be some funny interpretation of how the shadow is casted on that alligator that suddenly enters the scene. So go ahead and take a look at that when you have time. And you can use InVid Project to take a deeper look at that and to verify on your own as well. Okay, so let's take another step deeper into verification. One really compelling example of investigative journalism and verification is this that comes from the BBC Africa Eye. And it is just a really incredible presentation about all the steps that this team has taken to pin down time, place, locations, people, and landmarks, be it buildings or natural landmarks like hillsides, And so they've gone through this very rigorous reporting, and to really tell the story of the executions of two families and their children. And so what I'd like to do is just to go ahead and visit this, actually. Let me go back. I'm going to visit the tweet. And what they did was um, they broke down their analysis in a tweet storm. And a tweet storm is, when you go into great detail in a thread of tweets. All right. And so I just wanted to show you all the things that they used. And what's really cool is that, we really do encourage folks, particularly journalists, to take a look at Google Earth Studio. And later this week, we'll be doing some demos of Google Earth Studio and just Google Earth imagery, and showing you how you can use that as a storytelling tool. But in this case, a lot of that was used as a reporting tool. And I won't go into every detail of the tweet, but I highly encourage you to visit this thread and see what they were able to do. But here we have the government of Cameroon, saying that this didn't take place on their soil, right? And that these soldiers, didn't belong to them. And so in these questions, of government, when you're starting to ask questions about the validity of what you're hearing from, from government agencies or government entities, then as journalists, we naturally want to kind of dig deep into that and start to verify, well, that's what this team did in this case. And so they did everything from, trying to figure out where the hillside was, and trying to verify in Google Earth where that hillside might be. So they place camera angles, to align what we see in the image up here in the video with what we can find in Cameroon in Google Earth. So it's just a really beautifully crafted series of images of their work in verifying. And so we're getting down to like proximity, right? Locations, and so on. They're verifying roads in this case. So taking all the media that, or parts of the media that we could see in the video that surfaced, now we're trying to figure out, okay, where are the locations, from the video here, where can we find those in Google Earth? Where can we verify these things? Great, and so that gives us a rough lat long, or location, latitude, longitude. And next they're looking for more clues. So trying to figure out when it happened. So because our Google Earth satellites are capturing locations over time overhead, they're able to verify certain things based on when buildings were constructed or not. So this is just a really deep dive into this verification here. All right, and I think this is also pretty cool too, right? So the kind of guns that the soldiers were holding, there's more about the reporting on where those arms were sourced from, and who's providing what militaries with what firearms as a connection to uncover just what group was behind the killing. Camouflage says a lot as well in this case about about who these soldiers would be associated with. So based on different Facebook photos of soldiers from a particular unit, being able to see which unit wears that camouflage. So this is just a really compelling report, all the way down to recognizing faces in the video and finding Facebook profiles for these folks. All right, moving on. So next, I'd like to also share a bit more of a sort of a lighthearted story of verification. And this one comes from the Twitter account of Elliot Higgins. And so just visiting that, he says, because I'm a massive verification nerd who hates fun, here's a little thread on geolocating these photos that people are claiming aren't from Venice. And so here's a tweet that says, here's an unexpected side effect of the pandemic. The water's flowing through the canals of Venice. The waters flowing through the canals of Venice is clear for the first time in forever. The fish are visible, swans returned. And so here's a number of images, that are part of this claim that, you can see the fish and the waters are clear and, the swans have returned. All right. And so there isn't a whole lot of information there, but Mr. Higgins here goes into great depth to verify the claims of this photo. And so again, he's using Google Maps with Earth View or a satellite image to start to verify certain things that we're seeing in those photos. So he starts with the bridge and where this bridge can be found and the kinds of buildings that are nearby, being able to go into Google Street View to see a closer look at places that we can easily recognize along this canal, and figures out that this is actually Burano and not Venice. And so it's just a really wonderful strategy for getting a closer look at claims, and then being able to say, okay, well, let's go see for ourselves. And this can be done during coronavirus time, like from the comfort of our own homes, and being able to see some of the footage that Google Earth has captured, as well as Google Street View and Google Maps. All right. So that concludes our tools for verification. I hope you found it enjoyable. There's a lot there, so I just really encourage you to get into the tools and use them on your own. It really is about kind of getting in and testing it out for yourself, or maybe starting to identify opportunities where you can use those tools in your reporting. But if you have any questions about these tools, you can contact NewsLab support. We're also available on Google Hangouts, and we schedule Hangouts all the time. And and I'll just throw this back over to Maggie to close us out.
Yeah, so thanks, Michael. That was great. And we put a lot of links in the chat box, and so you can go back to that, and we'll have all of the links. And I'm also at the end, I'm going to put a link to a document that you can request with all of these links as well. So stay with us. Come back tomorrow, same time, 1 o'clock Eastern time, 11 o'clock Pacific time. And I know we've got people from all over the world here. That's great. I hope you come back and learn more tomorrow. It's going to be environmental journalism tools that Michael will be presenting. And then we'll have Data Viz on Thursday and Google Earth on Friday. Is that right, Michael? Google Earth, which is really fantastic. So thanks for your time today. You can come back to get the links, and we will see you tomorrow, same time.
Thank you.
Thanks.